Cops from the Aurora Police Department detained an entire family, including multiple children, one as young as 6 years old, after their vehicle was wrongfully identified as stolen. So there were 4 children who were detained in this process, wrongfully detained, handcuffed, placed on the hot asphalt. And the children were between the ages of 6 and 17. The cops said that they were notified of a stolen vehicle in the area, and they claimed that the license plate on the car matched the description that was given to them in the report. Now, we'll investigate whether that is at all a legitimate argument to make, especially after we watch this video.
Hey, bud, if you're not involved, please step back to me. I just appreciate
Imagine being 6 years old and placed on the hot asphalt like that. Like how traumatizing that is for a 6-year-old. So the police department said that a motorcycle, Aida, with the same license plate number from a different state was actually the vehicle reported stolen. Oh, that's amazing. How do you mistake a motorcycle for a vehicle? And how do you miss the fact that it was a different license from a different state? It's because they don't care. Why investigate it? Why ask any questions when you can just automatically force people out of their vehicle, put them in handcuffs, and then place them on the hot asphalt like that, including a 6-year-old. First of all, no one should be treated that way, but a 6-year-old? Really? You're terrified of a 6-year-old? You think a 6-year-old poses a threat?
No, that's not law enforcement. That's white supremacy. That's what that is. That's what it's been. And we keep showing these videos. There were a lot of people who got their pineapple-looking faces in front of cameras during the protests and were arguing why people were rioting and setting things on fire and why can't you just protest peacefully. But why are we continuing to see this? Because the dehumanization of Black and brown bodies in this country is part of the fiber that this country is made up of. And the fact is that they did not see a family. They just saw a bunch of people that they see as subhuman, which is why you can handcuff a 6-year-old child and put them on the asphalt during a pandemic where you're endangering them in more ways than one. But the reason why we're pissed when we kneel, you're disrespecting the flag. When we burn stuff up, then we're destructive. At what point do we have a right to demand our humanity? Do you want to pack us up? We can't just jump on boats and go back to our respective homelands. That's not a possibility. We've built this economy. If you guys want to give Black people the money that they're owed for all the free labor they did here for centuries, then maybe they can go back to their home country and rebuild, but that's not a possibility. So what do? We have to fight for our rights, and being passive is not acceptable. Being volatile is not acceptable. Nobody wants to correct this issue because everybody is scared of the problem that the police has become in this country. Everybody is afraid. And until the gun is turned on them, there will be no empathy. That's not acceptable. That's triggering. You know what I mean? Those children are now gonna be scared of the police forever. So they will run from the cops when they see the cops and get shot in the back, like Laquan McDonald, because they're afraid of the cops, because this is what police officers do to people of color or poor people when they think nobody's watching. And now they've gotten used to the cameras. So now it's not even, when you can do that to people knowing that the cameras are watching, that lets you know how much they don't care. So how are we gonna fix this problem? This is where your dollars, you have to stop, and your votes. Stop voting for people who support your oppression. Stop investing in your own oppression. Start looking up these people who support these sheriffs, these police chiefs, and get them out. Because this right here is not gonna stop until we get rid of this infection.
Yeah, absolutely. And
pisses me off.
One of the children, was interviewed by a local NBC affiliate, and she's 14 years old, and she said something that's heartbreaking, but I'm sure relatable to a lot of people, which is, after an experience like this, how do I trust the police? Who am I gonna call when my life is in danger? So think about, of course, there's the dehumanizing treatment that they experience, but there's also that fear of not having anyone to turn to when you need help, when you feel that your life is in danger or someone is posing a risk to you or your family. And so we pay for that. That's what our taxes go toward. And the whole notion of defunding the police is about revisioning how our resources are being used. So we actually have a system in place that doesn't dehumanize people and diverts the resources to government agencies that actually provide help when people need it, right? And so for all the people who try to minimize the statement defund the police to, what are you gonna do? Call a social worker during a mass shooting? No, and they're purposely mischaracterizing what this movement is all about. Police are not trained to deal with people who have mental health issues. Police are obviously not being screened appropriately if we have countless stories of them dehumanizing people, including 6-year-old children who pose absolutely no risk or threat to them. And I want to also just note that the Aurora Police Department has, for once, taken responsibility and admitted that they were wrong. They're saying that they're going to pay for therapy for the children. They specified a reasonable therapy. I don't know what that means, but it's not very assuring. But I want to go to David Lane's statement. He's the family's attorney, and he said the following. He said, when police handcuff people without reasonable suspicion to believe they've committed a crime, it's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment says the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. The Constitution's incredibly specific. And when you sit down and you really take note and inventory of what our rights are supposed to be and how much those rights have been violated, not just by the Trump administration, by previous administrations as well. That's right. It makes you realize how much that apathy negatively hurts the entire country, hurts the whole notion of our democratic process. And that's why, people like Trump can come into power and further violate people's constitutional rights the way he has without any worry or fear of retaliation or consequences. And by the way, the cops are trained to do that. So when they are responding to a possible stolen vehicle, I forgot to mention this, they are trained, this is according to the police department, to consider that a high risk situation or a high risk arrest. So if they're trained to think of this as high risk and have this zero tolerance policy toward it, where they can't differentiate between a 6-year-old and someone who's actually a real threat to them, well then yeah, you got a problem. The system is broken. And I don't believe that it's just the training. The training is one part of it. But we need a holistic approach when it comes to this.
Well, I mean, when we start talking about Germany's law enforcement being infiltrated by white supremacists, as if that is just a Germany problem, when we know that that's a global issue, when the FBI has reported that law enforcement in America has been infiltrated by these groups, you can't help but to think sometimes that these things are for sport, because you see them exercise. That many police officers did not feel endangered by that family that was unarmed on the floor. So that's for sport and for show, and that's their retaliation at what's happening right now because they're pissed off about the police being under people's watch. But the fact that that community would allow that to happen is also what makes me wonder, if I was a part of that community, I would be speaking out against that at that moment, because at any given day, when they decide your number is up, who's to say that they won't do that to you? I'm just in disbelief that you can hear a baby cry like that for their mother and you could just leave them. That looks like what happened during slavery.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.